A disappearance case. Although a lot of indirect evidence is clear and points to a person, nothing happened to help the victim, and its bad effects still greatly affect the victim's father. Rachel Marie Skemp was born on October 13, 1982, to a married couple, Jeff and Amy Skemp, in the town of Melrose Park, Illinois. When Rachel was 3 years old, her parents divorced, and her mother later married a man named Vincent Mellon. Amy had a second husband, Vincent, whose name is Jason, in 1988 AD, and a daughter named Ashley in 1990 AD. Rachel was happy that she had 2 brothers and lived with her mother and stepfather Vincent in the town of Bolingbrook, 30 miles from the city of Chicago, and her upbringing and childhood were normal like other children until she entered middle school. She was a good girl in her studies, especially in reading and writing. She also began working as a nanny in her neighborhood, testing the children she took care of in her favorite subjects. She was also an active girl in the church the family attended. Her dream was to become a teacher. She loved dancing and music, loved her friends, and lit up every room she entered. With her cheerful personality, which seemed happy on the outside, the reality was different. In 1990, there was a violent physical quarrel between Rachel's mother, Amy, and her second husband, Vincent, and his threat to Rachel. Her mother, Amy, filed a report against him with the police, but she later withdrew that report and returned to Vincent. In the spring of 1995, Rachel ran away from home for 12 hours because of her fear that she would be blamed for something he broke. Her younger brothers were at home, and she stayed at a friend's house before going to the house of her stepfather Vincent's parents, and they brought her back home. In the summer of 1995, Rachel visited her father, Jeff, who lived in Dallas, Texas, and stayed with him for a month. Before returning to her mother, Rachel told her uncle that she wanted to stay with her father, Jeff, and live in Dallas. The last time Jeff heard his daughter's voice was during a call between them in the year on December 25, 1995, and on January 30, 1996, Rachel was seen crying in her locker at school, and this was unusual for her cheerful, smiling nature. Everyone asked her if she was okay, and she said that she was tired of a problem she was suffering from, and she refused to tell them about it, saying that she could solve it herself. On January 30th, 1996, heavy snow was falling, and Rachel called her school administration, informing them of her inability to go to school that day due to inflammation in the throat. Her stepfather, Vincent, was at home that day because he was unemployed, and at 10:45 in the morning, Rachel called her paternal grandmother, thanking her for the gifts she had sent her on Christmas Day. According to what her grandmother said, the conversation was normal for a few minutes before Rachel became silent. Suddenly, her grandmother asked her if Vincent was there, and Rachel replied, yes. Then she apologized to her grandmother for ending the call and hung up. It is not known what happened that day, but according to Vincent, the last person who saw her said that she played video games with him before she went to her room and took a nap, and she covered herself with a blue comforter. Then Vincent took the family dog for a half-hour walk at 12:30 p.m. and did not. He closes the door of the house. What is strange about his words is that he said that his dog ran away from him and chased rabbits and followed behind him to catch him. In another source, he said that he left the dog until he returned on his own, but in any case his words about taking the dog out for a walk in the middle of the falling snow were not reasonable, but the dog was outside the house. Then Vincent returned to him, and one of their neighbors found the dog and returned it to Vincent at exactly 4:30 p.m. And it seemed clear that Vincent was not concerned about the loss of the dog or the disappearance of Rachel. At exactly 3:20 p.m., Rachel's sister Ashley returned home and did not find him. Her sister is at home, and after Jason returned, His sister was not found, and Rachel's disappearance was not reported to the police until after 5 p.m. that day, when her mother, Amy, returned home. The police did not give any importance to Rachel's disappearance because she had previously run away from home. They came an hour after reporting it and again the next morning. Everything was orderly and normal in her room, except for the disappearance of her pillow and quilt. The strange thing is that they noticed that not a single piece of Rachel's winter clothes had disappeared. She ran away. She was supposed to wear winter clothes in that cold weather. She also left her musical device, which she never leaves behind, and her bag in her room. They contacted her father, Jeff, believing that Rachel had traveled to him secretly, but he informed them that she had not visited him since the summer of 1995. The police also searched the entire house and used all their equipment to find out if anyone had entered the house by force, but nothing showed that a stranger had entered the house by force and was kidnapped. Rachel and they tried to search for her, even with the help of divers, but to no avail. The police could not accept Vincent's statements for several reasons, the first of which was that they found scratches on his arm, and when they asked him, he said that he had gotten them while he was working on repairing his car, and the second reason that made the case turn into a frightening aspect was when they found under Rachel's bed a book entitled Daddy's Kisses that talks about the father's relationship with his children and a kitchen knife. They found Rachel's diary, and it was difficult for some investigators to read the diary. On one page, Rachel wrote that her stepfather kissed her and touched her in an uncomfortable way while he was warning her not to touch the children. Perhaps the presence of the knife under Rachel's bed indicated that she was afraid of her stepfather. Vincent's criminal record was full of reports of violence, even in the years following Rachel's disappearance in 2003 AD and 2017 AD. Vincent was considered the only suspect in the case, and suspicions around him increased, so investigators interrogated him frequently and for long hours. Vincent also failed several lie detector tests regarding the disappearance of his stepdaughter. Vincent refused to cooperate with the police and reminded them of his legal right to remain silent, while Amy cooperated with the authorities regarding her daughter's disappearance. Rachel's father, Jeff, came running from Texas to Illinois to help search for his daughter. The police searched the entire house and did not find a single drop of blood, even using the equipment that the blood was revealed after it was removed and wiped away, and it seemed as if Rachel had suddenly disappeared like that. Amy could not bear the disappearance of her daughter and filed a case against the town authorities because she was fed up with some of the investigators who were chasing her and protecting her house and stealing pictures of Rachel without her permission. It was also decided to show an episode on one of the American programs about Rachel, but the town police prevented the episode from being shown without giving reasons, and the case was closed. The case was reopened in 2000. And the authorities were allowed to take a sample of Vincent's blood, saliva, hair, and DNA. However, the police did not advance anything, and one of the members of the jury in court, Drew Peterson, later committed several crimes, and his wife, Stacy, is considered a missing person to this day. He lived nearby from Rachel's house, but it should be noted that his crimes occurred in the middle of the millennium. And in 2001, Amy stated that she received 3 calls from a woman claiming to be Rachel, but there is nothing to confirm the veracity of this. Years after Rachel's disappearance, Amy moved with her husband, Vincent, and her 2 children, Jason and Ashley, to the state of Tennessee and severed their relationship with everything related to the town of Bolingbrook, especially after suspicions increased around Vincent. As for Rachel's father, Jeff, he moved from Texas to Illinois so that he could become close to the police and the investigation team and help in searching for her, and to this day, he has not changed his phone number in the hope that he would receive a call from his daughter Rachel, accept meetings, talk about his daughter, keep her music device, which she never left behind, and listen to her favorite song every time. As for her mother, Amy, she has maintained her words that someone kidnapped her daughter and perhaps assaulted and killed her. She continued to defend her husband, Vincent, and until today she has remained silent and refused to accept press interviews with Vincent on the day. There is not much information about Rachel's brothers except that her brother currently lives in the town of Austin, Texas, and opened a Facebook page in memory of his sister Rachel, while Ashley married and lives with her husband in the town of Bolingbrook, where she returned, and apparently the brothers are still helping in the search for their older sister, who disappeared when they were both 8 years old and 6 years old. Rachel was 13 years old when she disappeared, and the only thing that progressed in this case was that in 2016, the police announced that a friend of Rachel's from middle school named Autumn knew something that might help solve this case, but they did not know that she was alive today.